Hey, everybody. Oh my goodness, you were going to be blown away by today's guest, Liz Wilcox. I actually came across her shockingly through a referral from someone else that I knew who was part of a membership that she was selling for $9 a month. And we're going to get more into that, but I didn't just buy it because it was $9. This amazing human being has the best energy. She shows up as herself, and she is a single mama who really honestly wants you to be able to get your email list growing. Well, get it up and running, get it growing, and to be able to connect with people in really human ways. I'm so excited to have you here, Liz. And there's so much more I could say, but it's going to make way more of an impact if you can share with people who you are and what you're doing.
Oh my gosh. Hey, friends. I am so excited to be here. And yeah, like Paula said, I love email marketing. That's my thing. But I actually started off as an RV travel blogger. So just this lady living off Mountain Dew and a dream, right? Like I did, before we hit record, Paula was talking about, weren't you stealing internet from like Home Depot or Lowe's parking lots? And I'm like, yeah, that's me. I'm that lady. And so maybe like you listening, you feel like you're a voice on the verge, but you don't know what you don't know. That was me when I started off. I knew that I wanted to make a living for myself. I knew that the 9 to 5 traditional path wasn't for me. And if you Google me, you can say, oh, yeah, that makes sense, Liz, why you didn't take that route. And so I actually started an RV travel blog, and I listened to amazing podcasts like this one. And I realized that everyone and their mother said, it's all for the email list, Facebook ads, Instagram, webinars. You get them on your email list, and that's where you can sell them. So, Mama didn't raise no fool. I started emailing the day I launched my blog. I started my email list. I got really, really good at email marketing. In fact, I didn't even know how good I was at it until I decided to do my first traditional Monday through Friday open close cart launch of a digital course. Everybody and their mother tells you to launch a course, right? Especially back in like 2016 to 2019, it was like all the rage. And so I launched that course. I did the traditional Monday through Friday thing, and I had 141 people on my wait list. By cart close, I had 141 sales. So that's when word got around about that on the internet streets, that's when I realized, oh, I'm doing something other people aren't doing. And maybe you've had that moment in your life too, where you're like, oh, this seems to be a little easier for me than everybody else. Let me just show you how to do it. Shoo, let me just do it for you. And that's how I discovered I was really good at email. That's how I discovered I should sell that RV travel blog, go all in on email, and start my $9 a month membership, because I knew there was something that I could do and I could teach that was a gap in the market.
Yo, this is scrappy. And there's nothing wrong with
Yes.
scrappy. Because okay, I am a high achiever. I'm a recovering people pleaser. A lot of people who are listening find themselves in that category too. And what really resonates with what you just said to me, Liz, and I find it to be true in working with you through your membership, is it's okay to be scrappy, and we don't have to make it harder than it needs to be.
Amen. And in fact, we live in a market where the consumer doesn't want super polished, right? Like, I remember in the 2024 Super Bowl, it's all about advertising. I follow Adweek online. It's one of the only accounts I follow online. I just love the way they dissect ads. And there, that cream CeraVe, right? It's like a face cream. It's a lotion. They did a camp, and it was before the Super Bowl ad. They showed him, or there was like paparazzi taking pictures of him, like going to the CeraVe lab. He was just happened to have it in his bag while he's out on the streets of New York City. And it was all for this gag of the Super Bowl ad, the polished thing at the end of, oh my gosh, actually, it's a joke, but CeraVe is Michael Cera, right? But the real stuff, the stuff that got people excited, that got people interested in the product, was that unpolished, scrappy type of advertising where it was just, like pictures on a cell phone of Michael Cera with the CeraVe product and, the buzz that it built. So the point of that is, we live in this amazing market where, as people who are solo entrepreneurs just getting started, have to get scrappy and resourceful, we're actually at an advantage because, you and I are also the consumers, right? We're the ones that we want to see real people. We want to make those human to human connections. And we're done and sort of tired of these super polished corporations, that don't feel real. We want the real thing. And spoiler alert, you're the real thing. So you already have an amazing advantage in the market today.
Ugh. I think what you find also through your email is, particularly in your membership, Liz, is everything that I know to be true, all the money I spent on copywriters in my business, all of the, because I doubted myself, all of the very structured ways that I needed to write sort of go out the window, and you strip people back down to their themselves and and give them permission without saying, I give you permission. You said, like, here's a way that you could do this that really allows your personality to come through and makes it professional, but redefining what that means. That's the hardest part that's been the hardest part of me dismantling my corporate persona. I always say I put on the costume and I went to work and I did all the things that I had to do and I was supposed to do. And I was literally perpetuating the thing that I didn't want, which I didn't want to be the only person in the room that wasn't speaking up or the only female, but I wasn't doing anything about it. I was just sort of blending in. You're giving people the opportunity, sort of one email at a time, to open up to people and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. And you don't have to do that on social media. You can simply do that through a series of emails. You don't have to be a quote writer or a successful blog writer in order to do that. What really inspired you to go with the $9 price point? And that seems like, in a world that's so focused on scaling and bigger is better and more, and you could have people pay a lot so you don't have to do a lot of work and you only need a few clients. What on earth made you go, oh, $9 seems good to me?
A few different things. Number one, I just like to do things differently than other people. I'm kind of like a zig when everyone zags type of gal. And at the time, the membership launched in 2021, and at the time, in my industry, it was all about high ticket. That was the way to go. That was the way to manage your workload, your stress load. That was the way to get better clients, all of this. And so I was doing that. I was a copywriter at the time. I was selling, like, hey, I'll write your emails for you type of packages. And I was charging high rates. And I just found that what everyone was saying about, oh, well, if you have a higher price client, you have a better client because, they're able to afford, they're less demanding. And I just found that that was absolute BS for me personally. I was like, well, the more this person gives me, the more responsibility I feel, the more pressure I feel to hit the deadline, to get on my computer at 5 p.m. even though I just sat down at dinner because they text me. There was a certain expectation that I'm giving you all this money and you better deliver, right? And I don't know about you listening, You're probably doing the dishes right now. You're probably driving, listening to this. You're running an errand. Maybe you're trying to walk and learn at the same time or whatever. Like, we're all really busy outside of our computers, outside of our jobs. We have a lot of responsibilities. And that was my case. Paula told us earlier, like, I'm a single mom. I support 3 households on my one business income. And I have a lot of responsibility when I turn off the computer. I don't want a lot of responsibility when I turn the computer on. I want my business to be as simple as possible because wow, is my personal life. Was I born into a complicated personal life? You know what I mean? Like, let's just say that, right? And so that's the number one reason why why I have the $9 price tag. I realized that the high ticket stuff just was not my bag. The one-on-one, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much pressure. But when I have a lot of people, I work in the volume business, right? You got to have a lot of people for $9 to make a living. But that feels good to me. It's like, okay, well, I know this person emailed me, I can see it, but it's 2 minutes to quitting time. And I'm going to answer that tomorrow, right? Which is very conducive to the life I want to lead. The second part of having the $9 is also putting myself in the shoes of my ideal customer. I remember when I was having to go to Lowe's parking lots for internet because I literally didn't even have internet on my phone. I was living in an RV. If you've ever been in the woods, you can imagine the type of internet situation I was having. I did not have a supportive spouse. They thought I was like nuts for trying to make this internet marketing thing work. And I had a toddler who didn't care about my business, right? Like, toddlers, they don't really care about money or, your job or anything like that. And so I just remembered that Liz, and what would it take for Liz? What price would it take for Liz to just trust someone? Because I did not have a lot of support, and which translated for me into not a lot of trust in people. Like, I really had to trust you to put my money down. And I thought, well, $9 would probably be it. Maybe it's not a no-brainer for everybody. It's a no-brainer for most, but for the people like me who were scrappy, to Paula's word, and but desperate at the same time to get something going, what would that price point be? Because I know email marketing changed my life, and I know I can help a million other Liz's out there that just need to get something going. Just living on the dream, even if nobody else sees it, right? And that's where I came up with the $9 price tag. And that first reason of responsibility is why I've kept it $9 for over 3 years.
Did you find that with the $9, did you do some sort of calculation, or did you just go, intuitive hit $9, it's gonna be $9? Was there some calculation? Because there are folks here that are gonna overthink and they're gonna get really in the weeds about how you would come up with that figure.
Yeah, I had a tripwire at the time, which is something when someone joins your email list, it's a low ticket offer for a limited time. That tripwire was $22. It was converting just fine, probably at about 6%. But Liz doesn't do just fine. I thought, I want this to convert better. What can I sell that's going to sell better than this tripwire? And that's when I came up with the idea for the membership and the price. It wasn't this, let me get out my calculator and see, what the margins are going to be, etc. It was more of what Paula said, of that intuitive hit of, what, I think it's got to be under $9 or under $10, but it's not so cheap that I could just charge $3 or something for it.
Yeah, it becomes a beautiful experiment, is what I'm hearing you say. Of one, how do I take what I value, and what I've lived through, and make sure that other people feel safe. One, being able to make a 1 month investment and know that they're not forced to be here for the next year. And how can I do this in a way that also demonstrates I really care about you? And
Yeah.
when you receive these things from me, it's not a which you're getting you're only going to get what you pay for. Ace, you're investing your $9 is the equates to, if we're thinking about it in terms of equity, your $9 equates to someone else's $9,000 or $900.
Yeah. One last thing about the pricing. Well, side note, the most competitors that I've seen, because I've seen other memberships. So if you're not aware of my membership, it's just a weekly newsletter template kind of club. Every single week I send you a newsletter template.
It's not
And
just, though. We're
oh,
not going
but
to say
I mean,
just
obviously I
because
over
it is
deliver.
hot damn. It is so good. And then you get the
Thank you.
whole library in the background. So it is not just, she's
Yeah.
like, well, she's in her strength, living in her strength. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to go back now.
Simple is my superpower. But I've seen other people since launch memberships, similar to mine. The closest in price I've seen, and I actually didn't see it lasting. I think she only had it up for about 9 months. I think it was like a $37 price tag. And I've seen a few more that are about $100 a month. But the last thing I want to mention about the price is the pricing is a long-term strategy as well. If I need money right now, I'm going to price like my competitor at $100 a month because dang it, if I'm going to do this, it's got to be worth it, right? But something that I've learned in business is if you're not a long-term thinker, you're not going to make it, right? Like look at Jeff Bezos. Like I don't even shop on Amazon, but if we want to look at Jeff Bezos and what he's done, he's a long-term thinker. One of his biggest failures to date was actually a smartphone. It launched, I think, a few years after the iPhone. It was a complete failure and they lost tens of millions of dollars. If you go back in the archives, Amazon wasn't profitable, I think, for like 15 years or something, right? But he was a long-term thinker. And guess what technology was created from that cell phone for the Amazon Echo, right? Everything we know about the Amazon Echo, that AI was actually created for the cell phone first. And so I think for Bezos, it's not about, how can I make money right now? It's how can I develop my company and my business for long-term growth and profits. And so when we think about the $9 to Paula's overthinkers, maybe that's you listening. You think, oh, I'm not going to make any money off of this. I had a very long-term strategy. I knew my VIP day for clients, you hire me for a day. I write for 6 to 8 hours for you. That was $2,000 a month. I figured if I could get 1,000 people in my membership, that would be what, $9,000? Yeah. Sorry, the math on that.
You're asking the wrong person to math.
Right. So that's $9,000. And I figured if I could get 1,000 people in 2 years, wow, I could retire my services, right? Because I didn't want to do services forever. That's, again, living your life and building your business with intentionality. I knew I didn't want to be stuck in that hamster wheel of referral client, referral client, referral client. I knew I could make money with digital products because I had done it in my travel blog. And so I knew that was the type of business I wanted. And so I said, okay, I'm just going to give myself 2 years. I'm not going to, put this up. Oh my gosh, I can't get 100 people in 6 months. I quit because now I'm resenting the offer. I decided instead, I'm never going to resent this offer. I'm going to offer it for 2 years. I'm going to stay excited about it. And I'm going to see if I can hit that 1,000 in 2 years. And so to the overthinker out there, can I actually make money from an offer like this? At first, probably not. I mean, I got 100 people in 30 days. That's still only $900 a month, right? That's not really, in 2024, that's not even paying for groceries if you've got a couple kids, right? No. It's not paying for groceries and gas at least, right? But I knew eventually I could get that payoff and it would be worth it. And it has been.
Working your way up to that. I'm always looking at, here's the doubters. Here's the people that are going, yes, but you sold your blog business. And of course, people come up with all of the ideas and assumptions about what that means. you're sitting on a big pot of money. You come from a family that's throwing it at you. They'll say, if you're starting something like that, charge $9. And you know that even with 1,000 people, that's still not as much as you might need to live. What creates the safety, or what created the safety for you and yourself to be able to go, I'm going to commit to this and be excited about this for 2 years, even though I'm not going to be making a lot of money from it in that time commitment?
Paula, I think this is the best question I've ever been asked. I'm so excited. Y'all leave her a 5-star review. She is like so awesome. So she's asking, what created the safety for me to say, yeah, I'm going to go low ticket? The only safety I had was my belief in myself. When I created the offer, I was less than a year from leaving my husband. We were in the middle of a divorce. I was supporting my household. My sister was living with me rent free because she was also trying to go through a divorce. So I was trying to support her in that. I think it's, really sad when people have to stay in marriages for money. And I wasn't about that life. And I was also supporting my mom. I've been supporting my mom financially on and off since I was 16 years old. And at this time, I was supporting her fully. And so there was no safety net. I sold my blog. Full disclosure, I sold my blog for $15,000 plus a year of royalties. That equated to about $25,000. And at the time that I had launched my membership, that money was all gone. I had split that between 12 months. You can do the math. It's really not a lot, especially when you think, oh, this lady's going through a divorce and, has her kid full time.
Exactly.
So the only safety net I had was, dang it, Liz, why not you? You have worked hard before. You have done hard things. You're doing hard things right now. And so honestly, I did get up very early and, I did my client work. I was still signing client contracts. And I would get up very early before my daughter woke up. I'm talking 4 a.m., y'all. And I would do the client work, all the stuff that the had to do's, right? Before the kid even got up. Then take her to school and work for a few more hours on client work, on inbox management. And then I would give myself 2 hours a day right before the school bus came to work on lizwilcox.com, right? Because dang it, I can't get up at 4 a.m. every day of my life. This is not what I want. If I'm going to, live a better life, then this is okay temporarily, but I have to focus on my life, not just other people's businesses, other people's lives. And so I dedicated that time to myself every single day, where I was emailing my list, doing podcasts like this, writing my templates, figuring out the tech for my membership, whatever had to be done for lizwilcox.com. I just basically signed a contract with myself, the same way I'd sign a contract with Paula. Yep, we're going to do this. These are the deadlines. We're good to go. Thank you, ma'am. Was the same way I signed a contract with myself. Yep, Liz, every day from 1 to 3 o'clock, no exceptions. You're going to buckle down. If you really want to change your life, you have to change your life. So that was my only safety net, was just, dang it, Liz, I believe in you, so you better get to work.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Why not you? That really is a big thing. Why not you? Most people don't think that way. They sort of buy into the, well, I've been doing this for so long. What are other people going to think about me? And you just sort of went, what do I think about myself? And what do I want for myself? And how am I going to do this? Which to me is so amazing and beautiful and courageous in a million ways. You have to let go of certain things to buy into others, and for you to say, I wrote up whether it's a contract in your head or an actual contract that you sign with yourself, to be able to say, I am committed to myself to make this work so that I can do this for these reasons. And it sounds like now you're not doing those client services. So you're not getting it at 4 a.m. And before we started recording, you said, oh, this is the only thing I have today. how does that feel to go from I was up at 4 a.m. to I kept that commitment to myself and look at me now.
Oh, thank you so much. Sometimes I get lost in the weeds, so I
We
appreciate
all
you
do.
bringing that back out today. Yeah, it feels so effing good. Not so humble brag. I did it. I worked so hard. And I'm not all about hustle culture, but I also know if you're stuck in one spot and you need to get to another, sometimes, you got to put your work boots on and, buckle down. And it feels really, really good that, in the span of essentially, um, well, I would say probably about 7 or 8 years. I've been in business about 8 years now. So really in those 8 years, I've been able to go from, oh my gosh, I'm going down the same path as every other person in my family has ever gone down. Oh no, this is not good because I'm actually really smart too. You've done it, Liz. I have a lot more to do, but I'm already successful. No, I'm not a millionaire yet. I hope to get there one day. I'm working on it. But I don't know anyone else who can say, like, yep, I'm taking Thursday off and not stressing it, right? Like, last summer I took 90 days off of work consecutively. I took the
Yeah.
entire summer off. I didn't turn my computer on once. And this is not like a bragging moment, but I literally don't know anyone else who's ever done that, especially in their 30s as a single mom who also supports two other households on top of her own, right? I really don't know, but the whole thing is just that intentionality, that decision of why not me? Like, especially when, we all do it. We all doom scroll and we, look at people, and maybe even, you're going to start following me online and it's like, oh, Liz, I know I'm smarter than her. Like, oh, she's so not put together. Why not you? Why can't you do better than me? Right? Like, there's no reason other than yourself, right? We all have obstacles. Maybe you feel like your brain works differently than others. You don't have enough resources. That's always been my excuses. I don't have anyone that supports me. I don't have enough resources. I was born behind the start line, type of thing. But at the end of the day, I just, something flipped in me and I said, you know what? Why not me? And I'm going to write up this contract for myself and I'm going to go for it because lesser people have done it. I believe in myself at least halfway. I can get going. And it feels really, really good today. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I, I really want to make sure that people understand that what I don't hear you say is that you looked for the okay, the head nod, the thumbs up, the external validation from other people before you went, where I'm just going to do this right now. And we're figuring out the how as we go along. And it's going to be fine. Everything's going to be great because I can see where I'm going. And that's way more important to me than the discomfort that I'm feeling right now. I think it's
Yes.
important to share that. And also, there are folks who think, well, it's just easier for me to, or more responsible for me to go get another job over here. And then they don't have the ability. I'm not saying don't do that if you need income and to go all out if you really need to pay your bills and you need to do something. There's no shame in that. But to not get so absorbed in what you're doing that you don't give yourself the time to work toward what you truly want. And that is the difference between you, Liz, and so many others that I see is I can raise my hand and say I've been in that situation where I took on a service agreement and thought this is my runway because it gives me my base so I can do all the things I want, and yet it consumed me in ways that I promised I would never allow it to consume me like
Right.
that when I left corporate. And here I was, like right back in the
Just
throes of it. So
right, bringing up your own, making your own golden handcuffs, right? We tend to do that. I love what Paula said about giving yourself time to, do your own thing, but even more like what she said at the beginning of that, was you have to give yourself permission first. When you give yourself permission to, like, yes, I'm going to do this thing, to heck with whatever anybody else says, then of course you give yourself the time, right? So I think that's the difference is we don't want to think of like, oh, I have to give myself time for this. It's like once you just give yourself permission to go there, then you're going to give yourself time, right? You give permission to your boss to call you at 6 p.m. at night. You give permission to your client to, expect an answer from you at 8 p.m., right? When you give that same permission to yourself, just like you find time for your boss, you find time for your client, you find time for your kids, whatever the case may be, you're going to find time for yourself. And yes, to Paula's point, I didn't wait for permission. I gave it to myself. My business coach for at least a year, Liz, please raise the price. It's worth so much more. You're missing out on money. And I said, I don't believe in losing money. Like that's not a real thing. My Even I was in a peer mastermind for years. We would meet at like 6 a.m. every Monday morning for years. And when I sold my travel blog, when I went into email marketing, and when I wanted to start this membership, they said, well, Liz, maybe you should take on a little more client work so you could see a little more results, so you have a little more credibility. I said, what's more credible than 100% conversion rate? I'm done here. I don't I don't need your permission. I'm starting it. And they said $9. You're gonna up the price, right? And I said, why? And they said, well, you'll have to make more sales. And I said, well, it's a good thing that's my specialty, baby. And 3.5 years later, we have almost 5,000 people in the membership.
Amazing.
Mic drop. And again, this isn't to like brag. I want to share with you what is possible when you give yourself permission, when you stop waiting for even these people that love you and care about you. Don't let their fears dictate your future.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh, that was so good. Don't let their fears dictate your future. And you have two things: commitment to yourself and conviction.
Yes.
You're not letting people get into your heads. And that's such an amazing trait. And the more we spend time around people like you, the more we realize it's okay to embrace that side of ourselves and to say no, and to let people know, thank you for your feedback or thanks for your suggestion, but not to let it change who we inherently are. You're an amazing example of that, Liz. And I just really honored to one, have this conversation with you, and two, when you go to your mailbox and it's full of junk, and then you have that one letter that somebody sent you and they hand wrote it and they addressed it and, by hand. And I just took a moment, and you go, amidst all of this garbage is this beautiful, amazing thing where somebody recognizes you and cared enough to spend time and money to put a stamp on it and energy to take it to the post office. And that's how I feel every time I get one of your emails. And that's how I think you want people to feel when they send their emails, is that amidst all of the garbage that you can unsubscribe from, this message is the thing you're going to look forward to. And I so appreciate that about you. And again, your courage, your commitment, your conviction, and the fact that you are not grinding and hustling and really are an amazingly beautiful, successful in your own right version of living as an extension of your values. So thank you for being you and for continuing to offer this to people.
Thank you so much. Yeah, at the end of the day, I don't care if you consider yourself B2B, B2C, whatever. Like, we're all human to human, right? Even if you are emailing corporate people at their corporate jobs, that is still a human, opening up that email. And, in every interaction we can have, whether it's in person, online, in the inbox, like if we just try to talk to people like people, I think we'll, be one step ahead of the game. Don't overcomplicate it. We're just humans talking to humans.
I think I'm gonna have to make that an audio and just push it and listen to it every time I'm overcomplicating something.
I love that.
What would Liz do? And then listen to it. It's kind of like my badass Jensen Shara button that I've got sitting here.
Oh, I love that.
We need a Liz Wilcox button that says that at us. Maybe that's your next thing there, Liz.
Oh my gosh, that's actually a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. All right, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this podcast. Liz mentioned it before. Please go give us a review. Give it an honest review. A good 5-star. I'd appreciate your words. Your feedback are so important to us. Please go connect with Liz. LizWilcox.com. The no-brainer to test out a membership. I will also put the link there. It'll be my affiliate link. So it won't charge you anything more, but it will give me a little bit as a thank you for making that introduction to Liz. And Liz, where else do people find you if they want to get a little bit of your energy and chutzpah?
Yeah, of course, I'm an email marketer, so I'd love for you to join my email list. That's the best way to see what Paula's been talking about that human-to-human connection and wanting to open up the emails. And seriously, anything I send you, you can just copy and paste. I want you to use it as your own. You can go directly to LizWilcox.com. In the top right-hand corner, you are going to see a hot pink button. You can't miss it. You can get everything you need to get your email marketing set up. You can get 52 subject lines, 3 newsletter samples from the membership if you don't feel like joining today, and an entire welcome sequence already written for you. That's LizWilcox.com, hot pink button.
Amazing. And I'm saving this little nugget for the end. I've went an entire year of not emailing my list. And I was really worried about re-engaging them. And I did it anyway with one of Liz's emails. Just something very simple, very basic. And I had a 47% open rate. And of that 47% who opened it, I had a 36% click rate.
Wow.
So it works. And I did it in a way that didn't sound like someone else's voice. It was my voice with her gentle guidance. So go check it out. Even if it's the free stuff, go check it out. I promise you it's going to be totally worth your time. Liz, thank you again. Appreciate you. Glad we're connected. And
thank you.
You're welcome. And until the next time, let's connect on our other episodes of Voices on the Verge. See you next time.